Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. I want you to think back to your childhood for a second and remember, was there a big news story that shaped your life? Something going on that maybe you didn't pay much attention to, but you noticed the grown-ups around you being enraptured by? I bring this up because Karin Slaughter, the prolific crime writer, grew up outside of Atlanta. NPR's Mary Louise Kelly grew up at the same exact time in Atlanta proper. And in this interview about Slaughter's new book, We Are All Guilty Here, the two of them got to talking about the Atlanta child murders, a 2-year period where the Atlanta police kept finding bodies of children. It's grim and grisly stuff, and Slaughter talks about how, as a kid, that moment shaped her, both as a reader and as a writer. That's after the break.
This message comes from Capital One Commercial Bank. Your business requires commercial banking solutions that prioritize your long-term success. With Capital One, get a full suite of financial products and services tailored to meet your needs today and goals for tomorrow. Learn more at CapitalOne.com/commercial. Member FDIC.
This message comes from Progressive Insurance and the Name Your Price tool. It helps you find car insurance options in your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Crime fiction queen Karin Slaughter's new book opens on a hot summer night in Georgia. It is Madison Dalrymple's 15th birthday. She's got a big night planned with her best friend, and then both girls disappear. The police find their bikes abandoned, glow-in-the-dark beads still snapped onto the spokes, pink streamers still hanging from the handlebars. Then the police find blood. All that, plus the title, We Are All Guilty Here, clue you in that there will be no easy or happy answers to what's happened to the girls. Karin Slaughter, welcome.
Thank you.
You have been writing crime novels for how many years now?
Oh boy, do we have to say 25 years.
25 years. Is a scene like that one that I just summarized still tough to write?
Well, yes and no. I mean, part of the fun of being a writer is being in the headspace of someone completely unlike you and trying to capture their voice. The other part of the fun is, taking out your own angst as a person. And I clearly remember being that age and wanting to get out of my small town and having incredibly stupid plans of how that was going to happen. So in a lot of ways, it was fun to write. And the bad part doesn't really happen until the end. So I had some fun being in Madison's head for a little while.
Yeah. Go back to the setting. This book is set in Clifton County, Georgia. I grew up in Georgia. Am I right in thinking there is no Clifton County, right?
There is not. I mean, we have more counties than any other state but Texas, but that's not one of them. Yeah, I wanted something that was fictional so I could lie and actually not have to worry about people saying I got Main Street wrong, that if you take a left, you're going to be on a different road. But I wanted to capture all the things that I loved and hated about growing up in a small town myself, Jonesboro, Georgia, and talk about that existence. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I was thinking a little bit about the Murdaughs and how you had this one family controlling this town for generations and how that corruption eventually burned the town out. So I wanted to have a family that was running things, and you have good ones and bad ones, and the rich Cliftons and the poor Cliftons, and they're in law enforcement and in the law and all over the place. And so that was really my goal of writing Clifton County, was to talk about this family, sort of like a Yellowstone, but in the South.
Well, my producer, who grew up in a small town in South Carolina, would like you to know that you completely nailed small southern town dynamics. She was like, oh my God, the gossip and the backhanded compliments and the way everybody is in everybody's business. Totally accurate.
Well, bless her heart. Tell her I said thank you.
Bless her heart is one of those backhanded compliments, usually. Usually what follows is not so nice.
She did grow up in the Carolinas, so I am being kind.
Yeah. All right, so stay with the Clifton family and introduce us to Emmy Lou Clifton. She's a cop. Her dad, Gerald Clifton, is the sheriff. I loved her. I thought she was totally tough and also totally relatable.
Well, she's really having a very elder millennial Gen X existence because she's raising her young son and she's taking care of her parents who are starting to get into that elderly category. So she's balancing that a lot. When we meet her, she's in a bad marriage and she's really just stuck in very bad places. But one thing she's good at is being a police officer. She's a deputy in the sheriff's department. And she has a really wonderful relationship with her father. It's interesting because a lot of times when you hear advice or things like that from your parent, your first response is to automatically hate them. And, there's that old saying that as soon as I learned my mother was right about everything, I had a daughter telling me I was wrong. But Emmy and Gerald have a very good relationship. He's a mentor to her in policing and in life.
So if I could get a little bit into your background and what you're trying to do here. I looked, you were the same age as I am, exactly. And I grew up in Atlanta. So it sounds like about an hour west of where you grew up. Is that right?
About, yeah.
Yeah. I mention it because that means we both grew up with what became known as the Atlanta child murders, 1979 to 1981. And they kept pulling the bodies of children out of the woods and out of the river. It changed my childhood, made my parents less willing just to let me ride my bike around until dark because they wanted to know where the kids were. Did you have a similar experience?
Absolutely. There was a definite before and after. And of course, the terrifying commercials, because we're Gen X, right? So our parents had to be reminded to be parents to their children, saying, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Even though, as you said, I was an hour away from Atlanta where most of the crimes were happening. There were some bodies that floated down the Chattahoochee and got as far as into the top part of Clayton County into Forest Park. And Jonesboro is in Clayton County, so that touched a little bit on our community. But it made us very wary of strangers where we weren't before.
Well, and did it make you more of a writer or influence that decision? I am asking because I think it played a role in my decision to become a journalist, to try to understand what was happening in my community, in my town. It sounds like maybe for you it was part of your becoming interested in crime and also the people who fight it.
Absolutely. And, I read all sorts of crime novels, probably much younger than I should have. I mean, no 10-year-old should be reading Helter Skelter. It all went hand in hand for me, but definitely the Atlanta child murders were seminal in my development as both a reader and a writer.
People who haven't read your books but are listening to us talk about one of them may be surprised to learn your books often end, I won't say with a happy ending, but let's say on a note of hope. How hard is that to pull off when you're writing about such dark things?
It used to be a lot easier, given where we are right now. It's hard to find hope in places. And I think with Emmy especially, I'm working on the second novel in this series right now, I wanted to leave her in a place where there was a feeling that now her life was really starting. I wrote about her at very different times in her life, and I wanted to talk about what it's like to be a woman in your 30s and your 40s, and then, not that I've gotten there, but in your 60s. I mean, there are things that really bother you when you're 30 that by the time you hit 40, you just don't care anymore. Parenting being one of them. Are they alive? Can they pay their bills? Are they responsible human beings? That becomes your criteria as opposed to some micromanaging that might take place when you're in your 30s. So,
the rest is gravy as long as they're healthy and paying their taxes.
Are they in prison?
You did good.
Yeah, exactly. Emmy's, her perspective has shifted. I don't know a woman alive who would not be a millionaire if they had a quarter for every time they worried about what a man thought about them in their 20s. And by their 30s, they're just like, okay, well, what's on Netflix?
Karin Slaughter. Her new novel is We Are All Guilty Here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This message comes from Homes.com. Homes.com knows having the right agent can make or break your home search. That's why they provide home shoppers with an agent directory that gives you a detailed look at each agent's experience, like the number of closed sales in a specific neighborhood, average price range, and more. It lets you easily connect with all the agents in the area you're searching, so you can find the right agent with the right experience and ultimately the right home for you. Homes.com. We've done your homework. This message comes from Sattva. Getting quality sleep can improve athletic abilities, increase energy, and boost memory and learning. Sattva mattresses are designed to promote that kind of sleep. Save $200 on $1,000 or more at sattva.com/NPR. This message comes from Bombas. Nearly 30% of marathoners end their race blistered. Bombas running socks are strategically cushioned to help say bye to blisters. Run to bombas.com/NPR and use code NPR for 20% off your first purchase.